Martin Kuppinger, who's already been hanging around. He's the founder and principal analyst of KuppingerCole. In 25 years in IT, he has written 50 IT books. He is touring as a keynote speaker and moderator of conventions and seminars, focusing on identity management, virtualizing, cloud computing, and security. His subject matter is that creating business agility through security in the Internet of Things. Understand security as an opportunity, not a threat. In this presentation, Martin Kuppinger will unveil how security can move from the role of the notorious naysayer to a business enabler for the entire digital transformation. Please welcome Martin Kuppinger.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. As he said, my name is Martin Kuppinger and I'm one of the founders of... Can you hear me well? Okay, I'm one of the founders of KuppingerCole. We are an analyst company, so we're analyzing we are analyzing parts of the IT security market, the IT market overall. So we started historically in the area of identity and access management, moved to information security. Right now we look at far more topics, and clearly one of the topics is around this ever-changing world towards Internet of Things, the digital transformation, all the stuff which is happening there. And we have a lot of changes in that area. And clearly one of the challenges we are facing in that space is that security is a challenge, is a concern, and we have to find ways where we can be, on one hand, secure, and on the other hand, agile as a business. A lot of people have the conception or maybe misconception that security hinders agility. I personally believe that is wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. And I will explain in this talk why, by doing security right, you will become far more agile than when ignoring security, aside of the risks you take when you ignore security. And I think this is something we shouldn't underestimate. Ignoring security puts your business at risk, particularly in these days of the connected whatever, everything and everyone. When we look at it, so one of the challenges, I think there have been so many incidents. If you look at the car hack stuff, so the Chrysler Jeeps we recently had, it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of reputation to fix such issues. So you need to find ways which help you mitigating your risks, which help you being secure enough, which helps you to comply. And that will be the subject of my talk over the next round about 45 minutes, a little less than 45 minutes. The clock isn't ticking here, so maybe you set it to 40 or so. Then I have, then I know where I am and my timing. Okay. So let's start, and I want to start with, and I go into detail for some of these fundamentals. I want to start with 8 fundamentals for the digital transformation. We hear a lot of talk, a lot of buzz around digital transformation, and clearly we can discuss a huge number of aspects around it. So the first thing we could discuss is it a transformation or is it an ongoing change? Is it more something which will change our business again and again and again? I personally think it's more than a transformation, because transformation to some extent implies we do it once and then we're done. We will not be done. It's something which is more a constant change of our business, a constant adaptation of our business for new challenges. So, and I will talk through these to some of these 8 fundamentals we have defined a while ago. So the one fundamental is the digital transformation affects every organization, something I will go into in more detail. It is here to stay. It is more than just IoT. It mandates organizational change, which is definitely one of the very interesting aspects we have to recognize and to consider and to understand. our organizations can't remain the way they are if we want to succeed in that transformation. Everything, everyone becomes connected. Security and safety, a very interesting aspect when we look at digital transformation. So I'm a German, and in Germany we only have one word, which is Sicherheit, for both security and safety. In fact, when you go to the English language, security is something different than safety. So security is more than to keep things secure. Safety is to protect someone or something. So safety is more about exploding machines which hurt people, while security is more about hackers. Unfortunately, if someone hacks a machine, security can end up in a safety issue. So these things are coming together, makes it more interesting. I will talk, as I've said, about most of these things more in detail over the next minutes. Security is a risk and it's an opportunity. Yes. That's one of the most important points in my presentation. And identity is the glue. So identity is one of the most important things when we look at security in this digital transformation, this ever-changing world we have today. So when we look at this from a perspective, we need to understand who is owning which device, is doing what, and we need to understand these relationships of humans and devices and the identity of the things, and keep this together and understand how this all happens, how this works together. So this is one of the most important areas. So let's look a little bit deeper into most of these fundamentals I had. So the fundamental number one, as I've said, the digital transformation affects every organization. And when we look at it, yes, so we have smart watches. The smart watches, it affects the standard watch manufacturers. It affects some types of device manufacturers. It affects already the market of the activity trackers, which might be a market which disappears as fast as it appeared, because at some point you can do activity tracking as part of another device, so you don't need an activity tracker anymore. Probably the activity tracker market is sort of already beyond the top. Connected vehicles. Yes. If you look at how automotive vendors right now are challenged by Tesla, by Google, by others, we see this transformation happening, and it's something which will definitely affect these industries massively, up to the way how we use vehicles. So there already are, if you look at Germany and some other cities in Europe, I think even in the US, there's the car to go. So there's the opportunity to rent cars. And for instance, where I live in Stuttgart, we have in car to go, so which are sort of a vehicle to use. You just walk, check up in your app where it is, the next one, take it, drive it, and it's paid for by use. And we only have electrical smarts, so only electrical vehicles here. And so it's really a new way of business, and it's something which also changes the model. You don't sell the car, you just have a pay-per-use model, something the IT industry has undergone for a while, moving away from the package to the as-a-service model. The same is happening in other industries. Smart homes, another example. So the very traditional industry of power plugs and other stuff is changing, of heatings, of whatever else. Smart grids, the entire utility market is under change, with the opportunity of a lot of people to also not only consume energy, but also to produce and resell energy. There are markets where the digital transformation is more or less already done, or at least to some extent done. Look at the market of books. E-books are out for how many years right now? My Kindle, I think it's number 3 right now. I have that e-book reader for several years right now. Digital music, the same here. The traditional record industry has been hit by that shift. Online retail is also not that new. Online payment, how long am I using PayPal? Don't know. Many years. Manufacturing, probably one of the areas where it's newer. And what we really have here, and I think this is very important to understand, there are rarely industries which are not affected by digitalization, or however you call it, by this digital transformation. And it's not something which just has started, it's something which is running for years. It's not a new thing. And it's not something which happens as a big bang event, it's something which happens continuously and which affects virtually every industry and virtually every organization. And I think this is something we need to understand. There's no way to escape the digital transformation. Let's move forward to the next slide. It's also here to stay, and I've just put together some of these sometimes very well-known quotes. So the German Kaiser Wilhelm II, some 120 years ago, plus minus, said, "I believe in the horse. The automobile is just a passing phenomenon." He was wrong. Oh, there are still horses, yes, but not as the main means for transportation. Ken Olsen from DEC, do you remember DEC? A very famous manufacturer of mid-range systems some years ago, not that long ago, 40 years ago, not even 40 years ago. So he said there's no reason anyone would want a computer in their home. So depending on what you count as a computer, you probably have a mass of computers in your home these days. So I have this phone, and I can connect this phone to my TV and can connect it to a keyboard and can use my office applications on the phone if I want. Clearly, I have other types of computers. He was wrong. Charlie Chaplin said the cinema is little more than a fad. What audiences really want to see is flesh and blood on stage. Not that we don't have the theater anymore. Yes, we have it. But obviously, people are very willing to see flesh and blood not only on stage, but in the cinemas and on their TV screen, on their mobile phone, wherever else. 20th Century Fox, television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months, okay? Variety said that rock and roll is dead, so to speak. Sir William Breeze, the boss of the British Postal Office back in 1878, said the Americans have need of the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. Yeah. So things are changing, and we can run through probably hundreds of these things, and the same will happen if you say the digital transformation is just a hype, it will pass. Then you have, if you're well known enough, you have a chance to appear in that type of lists sometimes in the future. So what we have is an inexorable and ubiquitous change here. So we have changes for the products. We have to have different types of products. Our products are changing. The way we look at products is changing. Our products are more connected. They have other features. They might look totally different. So the vehicle in the future might look different. The way we are using, so our smartphones probably also will look different. Some things are already more on the decline. If you look at some numbers in the tablet market, then we see that there is already a change away from it. And that's one part, products. Products change. Our products will become more intelligent. We talk about wearables. We talk about a lot of stuff. We have the area of services. So what we also will clearly have is we will, in many industries, we will earn more money with services than with products. So I brought up the example of Car2Go, and there are many other areas where, in fact, the business might shift from selling a product to selling a service, which is, by the way, not that new. Look at what your mobile operator does. He does the same. He follows the same principle. Or when you buy a printer, it's basically the same principle. You buy for stuff in addition. So the product might be far cheaper, but you will have far more services here. That means also that your business models are under constant change. Your business models are changing. They will ever change. So that's very important here as well. Your organization has to follow. So your organization has to change as well. Because when IT moves into some information technology moves into your product, then you can't have an IT division here and the product development here which don't talk with each other. Forget about it. you have to integrate. They have to be one team. You have to split it up, the IT organization, shift IT into your product development. And by the way, security as well. A very good idea because it helps you mitigating a lot of risk here. And your ecosystem will change. You will have others here which might help you supporting it. And I had last year, I think it was last year, I had a very interesting discussion, which was around insurance companies and car manufacturers. So in future, cars will have to have an event data recorder, sort of a black box in. And obviously, both the car manufacturers are interested in the data and the insurance companies are interested. The police might also be interested and some other parties as well, Google and Facebook and whoever else. So the data Kraken in Germany. But basically a lot of parties are interested. So we will have to find other ways to collaborate, to share data in a controlled way, my belief. So this is another change here. My third fundamental here is digital transformation is more than just IoT. I split it up into 4 parts here. So the first part is it's already a reality in many industries without any connected things. So sometimes you also have the connected things. You could say the MP3 player or whatever is a connected thing, but a lot of this transformation happens not based on only the Internet of Things. The IoT is very important in 2 areas. One is the sort of, I would say, the consumer or endpoint-facing things, or the RFID tags, and then there's the industrial IoT part, which is more about connected sensors, far more information you can collect, etc. And so moving from that, without any connected things, if you look at Industry 4.0, which is the German term, or smart manufacturing, which is more the global term here, it's about connecting manufacturing environments and the operational technology therein, which are basically quite big things. If you say, yes, the sensors come in, so you have the industrial IoT, there's more which comes into the equation, but basically we have to think it bigger. So everything which is happening here is something which is far bigger than just connecting some things. Digital transformation is more. And we also have to understand that connectivity for itself is not the main point here. The main point is, what is our future business model? We need to understand how we can monetize on all we are doing here. So what is the business benefit? A connected things without a business model behind doesn't help you. And it's interesting to see, when you read stuff and read through news, etc., to sometimes see how far people are from understanding the business model behind what they are doing. So I've trust. It's not an IoT part, but it's maybe a digital transformation part. I just read something about a startup, I think here in Germany, which tried to do sort of you could book someone who keeps your household, which cleans and so on. And then at some point they observed that people are not willing to have every day someone different in their home, which is something I would say probably takes you 5 seconds of thinking to understand that your business model doesn't work that way. For them, it took some millions. They wasted until they learned that their business model doesn't work. And the same is true, I think, for many areas here. We need to understand how can we monetize. What is the business model? Think about it. We also will see that, and that's something I touched before, a lot of businesses will move to earning more money with services than with their products. That will be one of the important changes we will see. So, okay, let's go ahead. Everything, so I've skipped one of these fundamentals. Everything and everyone becomes connected. So when we look at this ever-changing world, and I put together a little bit of bigger picture. So to the upper left, it's probably hard to read from where you are. We called it the computing troika, which was from an IT perspective. We have the cloud computing, different deployment models, social computing, so we connect more and more people as external ones. We have the mobile computing, so this flexibility, different devices, whatever. And this was one of the changes. Then, right now, what really happens today is that we have, if you look at the grayed out area, we have people who are connected in some way to organizations. People are using devices. These devices might communicate back to organizations. They might communicate directly with things on the other side. So from your perspective, the lower right edge. So we have a very complex ecosystem of people and things and organizations and devices which are communicating with each other, which might be owned by an organization, which might be owned by an individual, which might talk in the background. So they all talk through APIs, which is an application programming interface a service or a thing or an app provides. So everything is sort of connected. It's far more complex, and it's also not very stable anymore. So when we go back some years, people had few devices. So you had your computer, and you had it for some years, and that was your main device. Right now, you might have a lot of devices. You are far more frequently changing devices, and you need to understand how are these things connected. So who owns what? Who's the owner of which type of device? How are these relationships built? And if you understand that, you can solve a lot of challenges. If you have a proof of Martin Kuppinger owns that device at that point of time, so that smartphone, and he wears that whatever that suit which has an RFID chip in, and I have all this data collected, then I can, with some good certainty, say, okay, that's probably really Martin Kuppinger. So I can increase security, I can do a lot of very, very positive stuff here. We need to understand it's more complex, and we are not talking about if you're an organization, and I talk a lot with organizations in our advisory, then there are organizations which quite a while ago understood, oh, we not only have whatever 27,000 employees, but we have 4.3 million customers. Oh, which is a far bigger number you have to deal with. And these 4.3 million customers might access the service with on average 2 or 3 or 4 devices. And then you're talking about whatever 15 million or so devices. Again, a bigger number. We're talking about huge numbers. We need to connect. We need to understand how they are connected, who owns them, etc. So our new ABC will be agile businesses connected. That's what we need to understand. We need to be agile, our business, and we have connected businesses. This is the fundamental of virtually every industry. Security and safety, which is one of the interesting challenges. And when you start talking about this entire topic, transformation, etc., then you quickly end up with, okay, we have in this transformation business, in this transformation story, we will connect our manufacturing, for instance. So you start connecting your smart manufacturing, and then you say, okay, we have to secure it. And then people come up for a good reason and say, okay, so you come in and say, typical IT people say, okay, we have to patch that stuff, because if you connect it, we have to have it at the newest update level. And then the manufacturing people from the operation technology side come in and say, yes, but if we patch it, we don't know if it works. It might, so in extreme, the machine might explode. Less extreme, it might stop working. And if you compare the cost here, the cost of your production line stopped for a few hours can be immense. So you need your factory to ensure that your factory is going. So safety is about not hurting people, not damaging machines, but also about availability and other stuff. So we talk about reliability, availability of technology. On the other hand, in information technology, we talk about confidentiality, integrity, availability. And frequently in the initial discussions the OT people and the IT people have in organizations, this appears being sort of a dichotomy. So you can't solve it, but we need to solve it. Because if I would say it cynically, it would be a little bit the choice of death by patch versus death by attacker. So we need to find ways where we can avoid both, where we can ensure that we are safe regarding attackers, and where we, on the other hand, are are safe against all the other problems which can arise in a production environment. So the brave new world of smart manufacturing is people use devices. These devices act as services. And in most scenarios, there will be bidirectional communication. So a system an attacker can connect to is at risk. I'll touch this later on again. We have to merge OT and IT security and sync security. And we have to understand it's about both. It's not easy, but it's done. We need to rethink out also the way we do operational technology. We have an OT environment, we have a lot of old stuff here. We need to move to more software-defined approaches. We need to reinvent stuff. And so then we can be safe that all this chain from people down to the manufacturing is secure enough to do it. And one of the quintessences of Industry 4.0 is connecting everything means everything is under attack. We have to be clear about that. If we connect our business processes with our manufacturing processes, a lot of things change. In our business processes, we have, I go back here, we have established attack vectors. We see a lot of stuff. Some of you might have been hit by ransomware recently. We have manufacturing processes where we also have some types of attacks. Look at Stuxnet, look at DQ and other stuff. So it's established, but yet rare attack vectors we are facing here. But when we start connecting all this, so if we look at the fundamental, the essential of Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing, then it means we are connecting these worlds, and we open up the lower part of this picture for the attacks emerging from the upper part of the picture. So all these, so you open up your sort of your entry gate to your, right now, frequently a little bit more disconnected manufacturing areas. This is something which really puts you at risk. We need to understand that this is a logical consequence, so we have to act upon this. And that means we have to combine our view on IT and OT security. We can't keep it separate. We have to find combined solutions. So, in fact, here I put on the other dotted line. The established attack vectors end up in the other attack vectors. And right now I want to bring up two slides which are around this notorious naysayer aspect. And so what I've seen frequently, and I think this is something you might also have faced in discussions around security, regardless in which area, but also security around IoT, that you have people who say, so you bring up a solution and say, okay, we have to mitigate our risk in that area. We have to do something. We have to implement a solution. Then there are proposals for a solution. And that solution would help you to mitigate your risk to some extent. Then someone from security stands up and says, no, 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 no. This solution theoretically can be hacked by whomever else. This key might not be secure enough. Or NSA has access to the final key, whatever. You probably all have faced this situation. Security stands up and says, oh, it's not secure enough. But there is no 100% security. There is never, ever 100% security. Look at, I think it was the Illuminati movie, where the eyeball lies on the floor. So there are always ways to bypass security. And blackmailing is a very common method for that. So don't expect that there ever will be 100% security. The other point is, if you look at the picture, the limit of security cost for security moving towards 100% is infinite. You never will reach 100% security, and the closer you move to the perfect security, the higher the cost is, exponentially higher. So you should understand, am I getting better? Am I mitigating risk? This is sort of the second part of this picture. You can look at it the other way around. If you take the full risk, you don't need to invest. You don't have cost for security. If you try to move to 0%, your cost increases exponentially. So you need to understand, finally, what is the cost of an incident and what is the cost of risk mitigation, and understand what can I pay for security? Security is something we need to understand. Okay, if I invest that, how much does it mitigate my risk? So what is my benefit of it? And then you can understand and decide what to do. And I personally believe every step forward towards more security is a meaningful thing you do. And before you let your security people stop you moving forward in security, just act. Because if they don't come up with a better solution at a reasonable cost, they are now discussion partners for you. So if they bring up and say, okay, I can do the more risk mitigation at a lower cost, fine. But if they say, oh, I don't know how we do it, but this is not secure enough, then stop this discussion. And one of the things we have to do, very important for the entire area of IoT security, we need to understand that security by design means agility by design. That is what really makes your business agile. That's where your biggest opportunity is in. So security and privacy by design, you will find a lot of stuff around. It's applying design principles which help you to have a very secure software, potentially, so where you have control about access, who is allowed to access what, where you have the audit trails, where you have your encryption, all that stuff factored in your security, in your product design. That includes that part of software which runs in an IoT device from the very beginning. So it's a secure and configurable system. The basic idea is you build a very secure system by following the established, there are so many design principles, good design principles, and you make it configurable. So you can open it up as much as you want, but it can be also be closed. So if you build something which starts with a closed basic configuration, which you can open up, then you become agile. Because if your regulatory demands, your regulations change, you just move the slider. Or if you sell something globally, you might say, okay, in the US, there are other regulations than there are in Germany. So I just change my configuration. If you have hard-coded security where you say, okay, I've looked at that regulation, then you say, oh, I want to enter the German market, but they have different data protection requirements, and you need to start coding. Then it costs you time, it costs you money. If you start with something which is secure by design, you can open it up at the extent you need, regardless for the market, regardless for the change in regulations you ever have. The same is true information exchange with partner. I brought up this black box example. So if you do that in a way where you say, okay, I have this data and I can control who I give which data under which circumstances, then you can share it with whomever you want in a controlled way. If you say I have the data but I have no means to control access to the data, I just said this is the data and the person who has the key can access all data, then you're not flexible. If you are granular, if you're flexible, if you did good security by design, you are flexible and you're agile. Oops. Risk assessment. If your risk assessment changes because your competitor had an incident, you might say, oh, I want to make my stuff more secure. If it's configuration, it's easy. If it's not configuration, if you didn't create your software and your stuff by security by design, then you have a problem. So quick and economical adaptation through configuration instead of slow and expensive adaptation through changes in configuration. This is where we have to move. And currently, most of the companies are somewhere here. They don't use the potential. You can become far more agile if you think about security and privacy by design from the very beginning, to address other markets, to react on changing business models, to be agile. That's what we need to do. So security and agility are not contradictory. Done right, security makes you agile because you can respond to risk changes, you can respond to regulatory changes, you can react on new business requirements by configuration. Instead of saying to your business people, oh, sorry, I have to make some code changes here that will take me 8 months or so. You say, okay, that's the configuration I changed. That's the way we have to think. Otherwise, we are not agile enough and we will experience at least far more pressures. I don't want to say we will fail, but we will have far more pressures in the digital transformation. So the interesting point is, if you look at this in a very simple picture, security by design means that we are moving from an actual state with high risk and low agility to a target state with high agility and low risk. So we have sort of two benefits It's really a win-win what we can do. Reduce risk, increase agility. That's the way we have to think. And if we do security right, we will be better in IoT, we will be better in the entire digital transformation. We also have to, anyway, prepare for the incident anyway. So something will happen in every organization at some point of time. So we need to have a process which understands where are our risks, how will we react on these risks, how can we improve it, and how do we handle, that's the red part, when something goes wrong. That's very important. So our risks are here. We need to understand what is the threat, the probability, impact, etc. We have to move to a detect and respond paradigm with a complete set of crisis and incident management where we know how to handle incidents, alerts, emergency plans, communication plans. You know, if you are a manufacturing of consumer goods and you have an incident, one of the most important things is, I think there are basically two very important things. One is you should have a plan how to handle it, how to update, how to patch. And the other is you need a plan how to communicate. Because when you go back some 5 or 7 years, if something happened with your customer data or whatever, then they appeared at page 17 of some computer magazine. Today, you have a good opportunity or a good chance to be the headline of the news in the evening on TV. That has changed. So you have a communication plan. You need to understand, okay, if something goes wrong, how do I handle it? How do I communicate? How do I patch, etc.? Incident analysis and plan execution. That's what you need to do. Where we also have to bring together all these things. It means organizational change. We have to have everything integrated as a full picture of all the things which we have to cover in such incident management. Okay, so the other one of the, I think the last or second last point I want to quickly hint on is, from my perspective, disruption is an opportunity. So with digital transformation, we are facing disruption. But we also should look at the positive things, not only be scared. Look at the positive things. What is positive? So it allows us to get rid of old technical approaches. Electrical vehicles don't need a motor compartment anymore. We can design cars totally different. We can get rid of 1.5 meters of car, so to speak, with electric vehicles compared to traditional ones. We can combine security with agility. We can look at new business models, services and products. We can get rid of brokers, and this is one of the most interesting areas. And you really should look at what is happening around blockchain and distributed ledgers, one of the most interesting emerging areas in information security. There's a lot of opportunity to get rid of brokers, of agents, of intermediaries in your processes. A lot of fantastic opportunities. And we can improve in that way business processes. So the essence of Industry 4.0, if you're realistic, is process optimization. Why do we do Industry 4.0? Not for the sake of connecting something. We do it for the sake of optimized processes, direct processes from the customer to the endpoint. That's what we are doing. So we can speed up processes, make them lean, and these are opportunities where we can create business agility, particularly through security. Blockchain is a security technology. And this area. So this is my summary, very quickly. Digital transformation is already a reality. Industry 4.0 and IoT are inseparable. So these are things which are very tightly connected. There's IoT without Industry 4.0, but there's no Industry 4.0 without IoT. Connecting production processes to the outer world increases the attack surface. Once you are connected, you are under attack. That's a very simple thing. You need to understand it, and you need to act on that. Mitigating the risk requires security by design, and security by design fosters business agility. So yes, this risk is there, but if you do it right, you can get even better. You need to prepare for incidents nonetheless, and you need to understand the opportunities of digital transformations, but you don't ignore the risk. There's a huge business opportunity, and if you do it right, you can have a lot of benefit, but don't ignore the risk. So that's it from my side. I hope I brought you some valuable information. I'm ready to answer your questions now, and I think you will probably moderate the Q&A session.
Yes, you're welcome to ask your questions. We've got another 7 minutes. As I like to say, these gentlemen are extremely expensive when you call and hire them, and today they are for free. You already bought your ticket, so now you can exploit them. Think of your own business.
But I wouldn't struggle with you coming back to me later and paying. No problem for my end.
You wouldn't mind. I wonder who's in the audience. Who of you owns his own business? Who of you is employed by a big company? Okay, what is that company? I can't read.
No.
Nestle. Okay. Is digitization a subject you discuss about in Nestle? In the food production?
Also.
You do. In production or in sales and marketing?
Overall.
All over. Okay. What is your position in that context?
I'm responsible in Germany for the services and the technologies for digital transformation.
You're responsible for the services and technology of digital transformation.
Yeah.
That sounds like all over in production and in business management.
Not all over. We have, I would say, a so-called globe organization, but we are responsible for all the things which are going out via the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about what you just heard? Is there anything you'd like to know more about?
For
details
me, it's clear.
For you, it's clear.
I can really say that's fine.
You sign it. You buy him. Okay, you buy. Here's your next client. Nestle. Well, it's a small shop, you know.
Yeah. They're Swiss and paying good francs.
So, what company are you working for?
I'm working for a telco company.
What?
Telecom.
Telecom.
Yes.
Okay. Anything you'd like to know along the lines we've heard in the last half hour?
I totally agree about most of the threads and the way this is working forward, because we're providing the connectivity to the customers.
Pardon?
We are responsible connecting the customers at the end. This is part of my industry, connecting things. Okay.
Explain.
We are like T-Systems, for example, but another country, of course. We're providing the M2M, we're providing the mobile connections, the connections of enterprise customers, and we're creating this, IoT for the enterprise customers at the end.
Okay.
So it's still in this bridge, moving on.
And what if what you heard relates to your business?
Security, of course.
Security relates to your
Yes,
business?
yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, any comments? Those two guys work for big corporations. Are there any journalists? Or consultants? Anyone in consulting business? Okay, they all look at the floor. The floor is so interesting and green. It's so funny. Sometimes a conference is just like a class at school. It always fills up from the back. No one wants to sit in the front. Yeah. You ask a question, and something on the carpet is really so interesting. Okay.
Okay, we are, I think, at the end, more or less anyway.
Yes, well, no, we have another 4 minutes. So my favorite question is, if you think 10 years ahead, what will we look back onto and laugh at? At the time, it was the thing, like the Nokia Tune, or the AOL. Remember a company that was called AOL?
I remember CompuServe.
You've got mail.
Yeah.
That sentence, "You've got mail," was in every apartment. You heard it 3 times a day, and you thought it was the future, and it's already gone. It's already forgotten.
Oh, you still got a lot of mail.
Yes, but you don't use AOL, and it doesn't talk to you and say, you've got mail. Can you think of something that it seems to be so important and ubiquitous to us today, and you'd bet that in 10 years your kids would ask you, what exactly was that?
I think I brought up one example, which were the activity trackers. I really can't imagine that we will have a separate market for activity trackers in 10 years from now anymore.
Activity trackers?
Activity trackers. You know, things which record how many steps you did one day, so that you don't get as me.
You think it will be part of a phone,
yeah,
but not...
it will be part of your watch. Maybe it will be part of other types of your wear, if you need it at all. I mean, that's the other part of the story. But for the people who want to track that stuff, there obviously are more options for integrating it somewhere instead of just wearing another thing here around your wrist. I don't see a market, for instance, for that type of things in probably less than 10 years from now. So that's I think one example for things which will be gone.
Who of you remembers dial pad telephones? You remember them?
I'm old enough.
A friend of mine went to a museum with her son, tall guy. He looked at a telephone and said, "What should I do?" It is round, it has numbers, Mom. What do you do with that? And she was like, "Look, you can't dial." Would you ever...
A friend of mine recently told me a story about his son, and he just was married 25 years ago. And then his son asked him about something, did you order it then by Amazon? And he had to explain him 25 years in the past, we didn't have Amazon, and we didn't have the widespread adoption of the internet. So no, obviously he didn't order something by Amazon. And I think we clearly will have things like that, a lot of change, yes. What exactly? Oh, it will be interesting. As I said, I think it's easier to predict things which will disappear than things that will appear. But even if you look at the device you have,
yeah,
here
in 3 years from now, I'd say I ever used paper. How could I?
Yes.
Now the time's up. Thank you very much, Martin Kuppinger. It's been very instructive. We learned a lot. We've seen a lot. It inspired us, and it matched our business interest.